Good morning everyone. Today we are going discussing about this another important parameter of compute network, which is point-to-point frame format. So in the previous session we discussing about this HDLC protocol. So in the HDLC protocol we discussing about this the point-to-point protocols based upon the different kinds of frame structure we are using in the HDLC frames, which go for this S frame value, I frame value and U frame value. So while establishing these kind of frame structure, we are going to design about this one kind of protocol we calling as a point-to-point protocol. So in the point-to-point protocol, we are going to discussing about this the frame format values only. So what is the frame format we are using? That one which we are using as a PPP frame format, which we calling as a point-to-point protocol frame format. So what is meant by this point-to-point protocol frame format? So this point-to-point protocol frame format, which is similar to my HDLC frame format. So when you see this one, so in the HDLC frame format also we having as a flag bytes, we having as address value, we having as a control value, and we having as a frame check sequence, and we also having as a payload value, which is apparently we calling as a variable data value. But we having as another important structure which is acting as a protocol value, which means what kind of protocol we are using, that one which is a point-to-point protocol, and how many size should be available, which should be either be a 1 or 2 byte values only, which is not a bit, it is a byte values only. So here when you see this one, every flag which contains a 1 byte, which means 8-bit information, we are using that one. And similarly in the frame check sequence also we are going to using this 2 to 4 byte value. So the small difference between this previous HDLC frame format and the PPP frame format, so we are going to introduce the another important thing is what kind of protocol structure we are using, that one, and what is the length of a protocol structure, which is 1 or 2 byte of value. That is a smaller change of this HDLC frame format to the PPP frame format. Apparently we calling as a point-to-point frame format. So how we are able to design about this transient state? So for example, we design about this the control protocol values in the HDLC frame format or in the PPP frame format. How we are able to establish that one? How we are able to design that one? Assume that one. For example, once network we established, so network is established, which means the network configuration is done. So after the network configuration, the structure should be open. So the structure should be open, which means what kind of termination point is there, how it is terminated, what is the authenticated structure is there. So when you see this one, once the connection is establishment, once the proper connection is established between the network connection, so if the authorized person is there, then if authentication is successful, then network configuration is established. If it is not done, so it fail the value. When you see this one, once connection establishment, we go for this authentication perspective. If authentication is successfully done, which means the authorized person can able to entering into the network domain, so it will be accept the value, then he can able to use the network connection value, which means the connection should be open. But if authentication is failed, it should be terminate the connection. It not went to in this loop structure. It not can able to operate the network admin person. It can able to operate the network into the person. Still way, so if we go for any kind of carrier is dropped due to some network issues, any carrier is dropped, the dead end position also there, the connection may be getting failed, but we are going to note it down of this carrier detected. So who is detect the person, who is a carrier for the respective establishment of connection communication, that we note it down here, that we calling as a transient states of the my PPP. And what is the stack protocol is there? When you go for this data link layer, so data link layer is one of the major advantage in the communication protocol. So even the PPP also using in the data link layer, but the data link layer and PPP are interlinked, and that should be establishing this one kind of link for the authentication protocol. So who are having as a stock for the other protocol, so we are going to establishing this one kind of network architecture who are comes to the picture, who are under into the one network umbrella. So that should be establishing the link for the authentication. So here there are two major protocols are which we are implementing the PPP structure. One is logical link control, apparently we calling as a link control protocol. Next one is NCP, we calling as a network control protocol. We having as a two protocols are there. One is link control, second one is network control protocol. So when you see this on the previous slide, when discussing about here, the transient state is there, but here also we are going to establish this one kind of control protocol services. But these protocol services based upon the information transmitted from source to destination who are authenticate the person can able to access into the network. So how we are able to establish in these kind of transition states based upon the protocol. What are the protocols we are using here? Network layer protocol, which is network control protocol, and logical link control protocol. Apparently we calling as a link control protocol. When see this one in the link control protocol. So in the previous also same structure we are using that one, but in the payload section we again subdivision into the link control protocol values only. So in the link control protocol, what kind of code we are using that one? Whether a code should be 1 byte code, and which is based upon the information transmitted, and we are giving as a respective person ID number and respect to length values only. What is the length here? The information length value, and we are go for this information of some LCP packet. What is LCP here? Link control protocol packet, which is a variable of data length values only that we can able to accommodate in this frame structure. So apparently the previous HDLC frame structure also similar over there, but there we focusing about this control kind of structure. Here in this we focusing about this payload structure. In the payload structure we are going to segregate the message information into a code value, respect to ID value, authenticated ID value, and respect to length of the ID value, and the information of payload value that we are going to accommodate in the frame structure of this LCP protocol. And so when you see this one, so here we are discussing about this code value, but what is the code and what is the packet type here? When go for this 01 code, which is configure request, which means so who are enter the persons, we are go for this raise a request, which means go for this once the connection is establishing, we go for this configure request. What is configure request? What kind of network we are going to establishing? We are going to request that configure structure values only, that we calling as a 01 code values only. Similarly, we having a 02 which is configure acknowledgement, and 03 a negative acknowledgement. So what is positive acknowledgement? Configure acknowledgement, which means accepts all the options which we get the information who are proposed information, who are raised the request, but in the negative acknowledgement only we consider some options are acceptable, other things are rejected, that we calling as a configure reject, as well as termination request and termination acknowledgement. What is termination request? Request should be shut down, and request should be acknowledgement should be shut down, accept should be shut down. And third one, another one is code reject and protocol reject, which means unknown person can access the code. Unknown person, we announce the unknown code we accepted, or unknown protocol should be entering network domain. So based upon that one, we are establishing this echo request value and echo reply value. So any help message should be available, any kind of echo message should be available. So other end, so we are going to take in the request and we are give proper response to the echo request message. And the final one is discard our request. After successfully receiving the request, we are going to discard our the packet. So, and next one is network control protocol. In the network control protocol also, in the previous LCP protocol, we are using this information of LCP packet, the link control packet. So here also same structure, but here is this IPCP project, IPCP information. We have that one, which means here we go for this encapsulation of data from network layer into the PPP protocol, that we are going to use that one. So how it is works in the sense, here also same way, configure the request, configure acknowledgement and negative acknowledgement, accept is reject or considered. Once the reject should be terminated one. After successful receiving, terminate the acknowledgement, or the entire information is done, we reject the code. So this is a simple kind of network control protocol is there. But in the logical link control, we having as a multiple things are there. We consider the echo value, we consider the echo response value, and we terminate the code value. But those things are we avoid in this IPCP packet structure. So what is the difference between this IPCP and LCP packet types? In the LCP packet types also, we are going to use the code structure, and in the NCP also, we are going to use the code structure value. But the small difference here is, here in this code structure, we are going to using this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11 information, 0A and as well as 0B value. So we have a number of request types is that based upon the packet type, we having as 11 different kinds of packet type and packet codes available. But in the IPCP, which is the NCP packet services, we having as a 7 is there. Which means, what is the difference here? So in the previous one, we are going to consider the echo reply value and echo response value, and we discard these values. So these are not available in the NCP structure packet values only. So that is the difference between LCP and NCP, link control protocol and network control protocol. So I conclude this session. In this session, we discussing about this PPP frame format. So in the frame format, we discussing about this LCP as well as NCP. So these are different to my HDLC protocol frame format structure, and so in this one also small difference between these two protocol based upon the what kind of code version we are using, that one, whether the 00 code version to till 00B version, and here the code version of 01 to 07 version. So different kinds of code version we are implemented based upon the packet type of LPC and NPC that we discuss in the PPP frame format. In the next session, we are going discussing about this, the medium access sublayer, apparently we calling as a MAC layer.